Hey guys, welcome to our second Frasier Friday. My name is Dan, this is Merlin,
Hey.
and we are focusing here on the first season of Frasier. Not even the whole first season. We're going to split these up half and half. Because I obviously Frasier maybe doesn't deserve episode by episode reviews, although we're going to talk about each episode in it. But I think a season by season is not in-depth enough.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
so we decided to kind of cut them into part 1 and part 2 for each season.
Yeah.
You know, and these disc sets are 4 discs, so roughly we're going to do 2 discs per video, basically.
Yeah. And the good thing about it, I find, is that Frasier's just one of those shows that I think is very easy to marathon.
Oh my God, yeah.
They just, you can roll into
Absolutely.
each episode so seamlessly, which kind of causes them to run together a little.
They do, yes.
Which is kind of
I have the descriptions for each.
That'll help me.
And also, I wrote down little notes about, like, this is the episode that introduces us to this character, or
which will be a big part of a lot of this video. I'm sure we'll be talking about certain characters.
Yeah, I mean, and first season, we're obviously still meeting everyone at the radio station. We're meeting, certain other people. Maris, of course, we never meet in person, but we keep hearing stories. But so if you've joined us for the pilot of Frasier, our last video, then welcome back. And if you're new to the Frasier Friday,
then go back and watch the first video, and then watch this one,
and then you do it in order.
See how that works.
So now I graded every episode just so I can basically average them all together and get a full season grade next week. But for now, I don't have to say my grade for every episode.
Well, you know what I think will be good. Since you're doing that,
tell me.
You give me the grade, and then I'll see if I agree with it or not.
Ooh,
that way,
interesting.
because I don't know.
I like that.
That is interesting.
We could do that.
Because I'll be honest, spoilers. I don't know if every episode of the first season so far hit quite the same as all the others.
No, so far I think my lowest grade is a B.
Sounds
so
about right.
far. It's a great season thus far. I really am enjoying it.
I like early seasons of Frasier a lot.
We did episodes 2 through 13 on this one, so we're going to start right after the pilot and move up to Guess Who's Coming to Breakfast, which is a classic episode. Just watched that today. All right, so first we've got Space Quest, and this is Martin and Daphne, and Eddie just all getting acclimated with Frasier.
Good morning.
And Frasier's having a problem with his space, basically. So they're trying to get some time together. So that is the synopsis of that. We have the debut of Bulldog in this episode, which I didn't realize was so early.
Yeah.
Man, then he became a fixture and was even a permanent cast member, like in the middle. Yeah, like seasons 4, 5, and 6, or something like that. And then for a while he got fired from the station, and it's all. Bulldog's a great character.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Like with Bulldog, you want to talk about him. For me, he was actually a character that I didn't know how to feel about in the beginning. Like, is this a character that's supposed to kind of annoy me, despite the humor? But over time, he does develop.
Well, he's very hard to like at first.
Which I think is the point.
They, I think, wanted to give Frasier a good nemesis,
an antagonist,
a good yin and yang. But, Roz is already sort of, not antagonist, but sort of the opposite of Frasier, more blue-collar or whatever. But she doesn't like Bulldog either.
Oh, no, she hates him.
So it's like the three of them sort of have a very unique dynamic, because neither of them really like Bulldog. I
think Roz realizes that you have to tolerate him, and he does have that radio persona down. He has a place.
Yeah,
in
people love him.
Isn't he like the highest rated?
Highest rated on the station. Martin loves him. He tells him he's the only reason he owns a radio. Yeah, which of course, Frasier hated to hear about.
Of course.
But yeah, so I thought that was a very good episode. I give that an A-.
That sounds about right. I thought that one was pretty good. I liked the second one.
Yeah. So then up next after that is Dinner at 8. This is when Frasier and Niles, in an attempt to get close to their dad, try to have this nice fancy restaurant and take him to it, but they're all booked up or whatever it is. So they end up going to this other place that he loves, that Martin loves. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush about this. This is an A+.
I love this episode.
It's probably in my top 5 or 10 episodes of the entire series.
Whoa!
What's so great about this is that we're still getting to know these characters, let's not forget. But, you know, the thing that you and I had sort of said was the one thing in the pilot that sort of stuck out as not being with the rest of the series is how they said the thing about the mom. Oh, you know, Mom always said a handshake is just as good as a hug. But we know, of course, that that's not really true. But here we firmly establish not just how pompous the two of them are as opposed to Martin, you know, but that they can't even grasp the concept of why anyone would find this appealing. And Martin has a great line towards the end about, you know, your mother would be ashamed, da-da-da-da-da. And he said something to the effect of...
Like she wouldn't mind breaking out a beer or something.
But your mom loved a good steak, too.
Good steak, yeah.
You know, your mom liked the finer things in life, but your mom liked a good steak, too, or something like that. And that sentence really, for me, the rest of the entire series...
It's almost
that is the mom. That's the portrait of their mom that I have.
Which is kind of really sticking to the theme of the show because Frasier's trying to kind of balance that. Like he is kind of this pompous guy that he cares about the high art and whatnot, but the sophistication, but he also wants to be on the level of the everyman.
Which is what happened in Cheers.
Yeah.
You know, he started out very pompous with Diane, and then as it progressed, he became more and more of a barfly.
Which, by the way, the restaurant they go in here, which is almost like a Cracker Barrel sort of thing.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, I get that, obviously...
Would you love it?
I was going to say, like, I like a fancy... You know, actually, no. This is the thing. I like a fancy restaurant, but honestly, I like a homey little thing like that. I love that kind of environment.
I do, too.
So I was thinking...
I thought it was funny when they clipped the ties off.
When they clipped the ties off, that was great, though. I think... I feel like it's hard to get away with something like that now. Like,
yeah, you couldn't do that
It's now, like, that's destruction of property. But still, I was like, that was really good. I do think that is a good episode.
Well, and it also... sort of sets up the, you know, Martin is a lot more willing to adapt than the boys are.
He does try.
You know, like at first he didn't want to go to their fancy restaurant, but then they were like, this is, you know, this is all about bond. He was like, okay, fine.
But then you don't want to bond over my restaurant? Right. And then, like, he kind of guilts them, but their guilt, like... I loved at the end, too, they're still like, we'll try to have this meal, even though it's like...
Right, and then in the tag scene, they're still eating it after they close.
Yeah, and the credits, yeah.
So, yeah, no, I love it. That to me, is an A+.
That's a great one. I agree.
So I Hate Frasier Crane is next.
Oh,
this is where Derek Mann, the reviewer Derek Mann, hates Frasier, and Frasier can't figure out why, so he basically goes on blast on the show to find out. Yeah, and then it ends in sort of let's have a fist fight in the street kind of thing.
That was good.
So I liked that one.
It's a fun one.
I gave that an A-. What I like about that is it was the first scene where we see Niles and Roz together. We established that they had met before a few times, and he didn't remember her. Which is sort of a running gag through the season. They bring that up a few other times.
Eventually, it evolves into they just don't like.
They just don't like each other. But this is, I think, every other time he does actually say, "Oh yes, Roz, I know you," or whatever.
I just want to acknowledge you.
But sometimes he's like, "Where do I know you from?" or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Oh, I should point out that in the previous episode, Niles meets Daphne for the first time.
Which, of course, is a huge element in the show because he falls in love with her right away.
Which I want to talk to you about on the whole.
Oh, that's going to be a big season summary thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I Hate Frasier Crane. Very funny.
I loved that one.
Very funny. I like. Already, we're delving so. I know
it's already good.
I know we already know the psyche of the Frasier character from Cheers.
It doesn't matter,
but it's getting so much more nuanced. Just with these first few episodes, you know?
Nice.
So up next, we've got Here's Looking at You. And that is, let's see. Oh, that's the one where they have the telescope. And
then the lady that he meets.
And,
the notes,
and so Frasier and Daphne are sort of hoping that there'll be a love connection there. Martin isn't quite sure.
Which is nice that I noticed something about that. I guess surprisingly, maybe because they're all therapists and psychologists, they're all pretty open. Like, he's not too weird about his dad getting a relationship. They're pretty open about that stuff. Which I thought was pretty progressive.
It's progressive.
He's kind of open about this sort of thing.
It's nice.
Stanford.
The thing I didn't really like about this is that they sort of resolve at the end that, yes, they should get together
the
and
opening.
meet, and then we never see her again.
She never comes up again.
The very end scene is like him opening the door and saying like, "Hey, thanks for coming over."
They're like, "Oh."
But then we never mention her.
Like it never did. I guess the date didn't go anywhere.
I guess
a missed opportunity.
Maybe. I don't know. They could have. Not that it's the Martin dating show, but like they could have
a recurring or like a follow-up sequel to it. Maybe I
don't know. I don't think she was ever spoken of again. Maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I like that one. I gave it an A- as well.
Pretty good one. Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah. I just thought I liked that we're exploring Martin a little bit.
We do pretty early on.
So up next is The Crucible. Oh my God, this is with the Martha Paxton painting
yeah.
where he invites the supposed artist herself over to the house. She didn't paint the damn thing, so then he gets in a fight with the art gallery people. I thought that was a pretty good one. Oh, you know what? I gave the Telescope one a B+. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this one also a B+.
Yeah.
It's good, not great. But I like that we're introducing the more pompous, like, high society party Frasier, because we see that throughout the whole series, like trying to keep up with the Joneses, and I've got this Martha Paxton. And
yes, I've got to impress everybody, and I liked that line. It was like when he's talking to her on the phone, he calls on the radio station, and Roz is like, "Oh, you didn't know you're having a cocktail party? Well, neither did I. Just made up to get her." Like, that was pretty swift thinking on his part.
Well, and one of my favorite lines in this episode is when he finds out that she didn't paint it, and then he tries to cover it up, and oh no, you didn't paint it. It painted you, and
it painted you.
It spoke to you, and all that. And then she's like, "No, I've never. I didn't do anything to it." And then Martin leans in with his beer, and you thought I was going to embarrass you, Frasier, like, I thought that was very funny.
That was good.
And that's the episode where Martin meets Roz.
Yes.
And, I love a good Martin-Roz dynamic. I love episodes where they're together doing something, because they really are one and the same. They love a good beer. They love sports. They love to just kick back and enjoy life.
And they have the same kind of like beats towards Frasier.
Yeah.
Comebacks towards him.
Yes, and they don't take themselves too seriously.
No.
Which is obviously something Frasier and Niles both do.
Way too seriously.
And this episode is a good indication of that. I do like that we delved a little bit into Niles' background with this story at the end about how they used to hang his underwear up by the flagpole.
Niles was bullied a lot.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. All right, so then up next you've got Beloved Infidel. This is when Niles and Frasier see Marty at the dinner with their old friend of the family, that woman, and so Martin tells them he had an affair, and
Oh yeah.
But of course Frasier has to pick and pick and pick. It didn't add up to him. And it turns out it was their mother that had the affair. What an episode!
Yeah, a little dramatic. Sometimes it goes into these things.
Here we get the first real. I mean, we had a little bit of drama in the pilot.
Oh yeah, that's some
but this was really like
a heavy hitter one. Yeah,
heavy. Yeah,
and Frasier goes there sometimes. It really does.
All the best sitcoms do, as we've said.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that one. I think that was an A-. That was a straight A.
Straight A.
Straight A.
Why not a? Oh, you did bump it up. Okay.
Yeah. That's an A. I really liked. Well, because they have that moment at the end where Frasier tells his dad about Lilith's affair and his suicide attempt on Cheers.
They bonded again over that.
They bonded, and that was really, I think, the first time we've been trying to get them to bond and forcing this bonding, and this is, and Frasier makes the crack. Like, well, I never thought, our bonding would be about our wives' affairs, or whatever. But, I thought that was kind of a nice sort of moment between the two of them.
That's kind of recurring, too, I think, is interesting. Like, whenever Frasier does try to force it, it's always awkward.
Always backfires.
Never quite works, but it is over those moments when they kind of just see it clearly and they can relate when they're not really trying to.
So I thought that was good. Selling Out is next. This is the debut of the agent B.B. Glazer.
The dilemma.
This is...
yes, darling.
This is, to me, just one of the most hilarious ones.
And I agree with Frasier completely. Well, somewhat completely in this. I like the idea of endorsing something if you tried it for yourself and you like it. But, then again, if it starts to pay a lot, that he can pay for your kids' tuition. Doesn't
maybe it goes another way. And actually, I'm noticing that we missed one in there because this deals with Frasier's ethics.
Okay.
But we missed one. Call Me Irresponsible.
I thought we did skip back.
Yes, deals with. Yeah. So after the Crucible is Call Me Irresponsible. This is the first one where Frasier deals with his ethics, and in this case, he tells this caller Marco that he should dump the girl that he's with. Then Frasier meets the girl and falls for her.
Oh yeah.
And has a huge ethical dilemma about what to do, and of course Niles' perspective. Here's where we really first see Niles' perspective of like, your radio show is not real psychiatry.
Oh yeah, he's always cracking in about that.
Yeah,
you sold out a while ago.
Right. Yeah, he brings that up.
It's like, how I feel about
Glazer
pop
episode.
psychiatry.
So he that's really the start of like
their
Niles'
kind of rivalry.
Yeah,
and picking at him.
We learn obviously about all their sibling rivalries,
but he's jealous of him though,
because
of the fame, and he is respected in Seattle.
Of course,
and everything.
older brother.
Oh, it's all that stuff. It's kind of. It is interesting.
So that's really the first episode where he deals with his ethics on the radio. I gave it a B+.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one, actually.
But back to Selling Out. BB Glazer, I didn't realize she came on so early.
I wanted to ask you about it, because, like, I forget if this is a recurring thing later. Like, I was wondering, is it just the way she presents herself?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Because I was like, okay, is she hitting on Frasier? Is it just she's just trying to be that agent that's trying to literally seduce you with everything else? Like, she has that. This is the slimy agent to the extreme. But I was like, is she like? But there's
later on in the series, like, they do hook up.
They do.
I believe so.
I can't how far remember. In? I don't remember that.
Middle, maybe.
Maybe.
I think they hook up.
Wow. You starting off, I wouldn't think that would ever happen. He seems like he kind of. Well, I don't know.
Am I remembering that? I know he hooked up with Roz at one point,
which I was kind of cool with, actually. But we'll get into that.
I thought he hooked up with BB Glazer too.
I'm not sure. I don't think.
No, now that you say that, maybe I don't remember.
I mean, it would be. Well, we'll find out.
This is why we're going through them all again.
Because, and that's the thing. I've watched the show a couple times. I don't remember every single detail.
Right.
But the thing is, I thought when he went into the apartment, I thought she kind of almost was. When she sees Daphne, it's was there?
She was a little jealous, maybe. But I always got the impression that she is just doing whatever she can to get him, and I think in her mind she thought, if he's interested in this, I can do this. But then she saw Daphne and was like, well, that's an avenue I can't go down then.
So if I need to do this to push him this way, I can't. So she'd go that far.
That's how I think of it.
She's such a character.
She's such a character. I have always liked the BB Glazer character, and I love the whole concept of the nut ad, where Frasier doesn't want to say,
Which, by the way, I do agree with him. They downplay like the moral dilemma of that, like it's but like that, you want to talk about something that would not be PC today. That would not.
You couldn't have a commercial that says you're both nuts.
Like, that's kind of funny, but it's like that would not happen today.
Yeah, you're right. But I did like that.
You're coming out of your shell.
An A-. My favorite part of that whole episode, and talk about something you could not do today, is when Frasier refuses to do the Chinese ad at the beginning.
God!
And Bulldog says, "Oh, give me the copy."
No.
And then does the super racist Chinese bit.
And I'll be honest with you. When Bulldog did that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to talk to Dan for the podcast. Like, Frasier's great, but they did this thing that's just kind of racist. But immediately, Frasier's like, oh man, if they got him, I was like, well, we're gonna get sued again.
Right.
Like they acknowledged that was bad.
Awful.
That was terrible.
Right.
So it's like, but I'm glad, and I was like, that kind of saved the joke for me. It's like because if Frasier had done it, it would have been much better than his.
Well, and I think that goes hand in hand with telling the audience that Bulldog has the highest rated show. Because if you are on a low rated show and are doing these racist characters, it's not going to fly. But if you're on a high rated show, you can toe the line a little bit,
which speaks to radio personalities.
How they get
into trouble sometimes.
Yes, indeed. Yep. So I thought that was actually not only very funny, but
kind of
very
realistic.
Very realistic. That you can definitely get away with more if you are the star of your channel. Yeah, for sure. All right. So next is Oops. This one actually is with Bulldog a lot. This is where he hears the rumor from Frasier that turns out to be incorrect, that he is going to get fired.
Oh, yeah.
And so he goes and just snaps at management And this is actually, I think, the episode where we learn he's got the highest rated show. Because when they're all at the Cafe Nervosa at the beginning talking about, who do you think it's going to be? Somebody mentions Bulldog, and I forget who it is, but somebody says, "Oh yeah, well he's got the highest rated show on the channel." And we meet Chopper Dave in this episode, where he's always yelling at everybody because he's always in the chopper. I think that's a joke that wears a bit thin. I'm glad they use him sparingly.
Yeah.
But I liked Oops. I gave it a B+.
Yeah, it's a pretty good.
We meet Father Mike for the first time in that episode.
Yeah.
And actually, here is the first episode where I recognized by voice who the celebrity caller is into the show. It was Jay Leno.
Oh.
Pretty distinctive voice.
Fair enough.
Some of these other people, like, you see them in the credits and you're like, oh, okay, that was that person.
Wasn't, like, Linda Hamilton, like, in the pilot or something?
She may have been.
Which I thought was interesting.
At the end of each season, they, over the, instead of, like, the little joke tag scene, they put up the pictures of all the callers for the season. It says, thank you for calling. And it puts up all the pictures. So she may have been. We'll have to see.
I remember seeing her name. I'm like, oh, Sarah Connor. Nice.
Yeah. And actually, Elijah Wood is in one of the episodes we saw, too, as a little kid.
Really? That's cool.
He plays a kid that's being bullied at school.
Huh.
But yeah, so that's the first time I recognized one of the callers. All right, so we have 3 more episodes to talk about. Death Becomes Him. And this is where they insist on Martin going to the doctor. The doctor is late, and they're getting all riled up. It turns out he's dead. Frasier inserts himself at the man's wake, or Shiva, actually, because he was Jewish. And they keep making sure that Frasier's not Jewish. But an interesting episode to say the least. A thinker, because I think, I don't know. That's when I see an episode like that, I think to myself, like, well. Yeah, I mean, this guy did do everything right. He worked out all the time, ate well, and drops dead at 50 or whatever it is. And it happens. So it happens. And so Frasier started freaking out, and it certainly makes me think, like, that's very realistic. You go at any time.
Exactly.
So I liked that. But I think what the episode takeaway is just how far Frasier will go to get information that he feels he needs, or
to get that sense of,
because he's lying to all these people saying that they were good friends, but yet he knows nothing about him, which is hilarious. So I enjoyed that one. I gave that a B+. Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street is the next one.
Nice.
And this is the one with the Christmas with Frederick was going to happen, and I love, by the way, that they're, bringing Freddie into it, at least by, speaking of him, he shows up later, but
does come in eventually,
but yeah, that's something that I had read about, that the producers thought was very important to have Frasier still want to be connected to his son.
Yes.
Because obviously moving halfway, or all the way really, across the country, and leaving your son behind may not sit too well with certain people. So they made it,
evident that he does want him in
and
his
even
life.
As far as the pilot, Frasier was like, I'm moving, halfway, across with my, without my son, it's killing me. And,
it's definitely, something that certainly bothers him.
Yeah, so I like that they brought that up, but he takes over Bulldog's radio show for Christmas Day, because now, he doesn't have Frederick coming, and so the callers are all very depressed, and then at the end of the thing, he goes to the diner. It's a good episode, not great. That's my B for the season.
Still pretty
so far,
good,
So far, yeah, still good. I mean, there's not a bad one in the bunch.
It's Frasier.
And then the final episode we're going to talk about individually is Guess Who's Coming to Breakfast. This has one of my favorite lines, certainly in the season. Maybe in all of Frasier. I mean, it's so funny. But when basically what happens in the episode, if you don't, you probably know if you're watching this video, but it's the episode where Martin goes on a date, sleeps with the woman, she stays overnight, and Frasier, tells their business basically on the radio because, like you said, he's progressive and
he wants to be involved in his dad's.
And he
make him happy.
Yeah, and he doesn't think that
it's weird.
Yeah, he wants to express to people, like, it's okay, you know, if your parents are still sexually active, like that's fine, whatever. So the girlfriend gets all crazy about it. But anyway, but I love that Daphne's making a traditional English breakfast in the beginning. This is the first time that we really see the farcical nature of Frasier and how adept the writers are. And there were a few Cheers episodes where they really went hard on the farce. I love a good farce when it's done well. And probably the best Cheers example is Woody's Wedding, which is a 2-part episode where the minister dies. It's a whole thing. Everybody's like in and out of the kitchen doors. But so here you have one scene where Daphne's making breakfast, everybody else is at the table, and Frasier just cannot stop making these horrible faux pas about them sleeping together. And Daphne made a point to say that they were having, you know, bangers and mash earlier in the day.
Indeed.
So when she brings out the sausages, Frasier goes, "Banger, Dad?" And it's just one of my all-time favorite lines because it's so funny. And it was at the tail end of him just making faux pas after faux pas.
Like he's trying to hold back, and he's just giving it like he just has to do it.
And then so when he says that, that's when she's like, I need to get going. Like
I clearly, you know, there's enough going on here. Oh, that's great.
So I thought that's a really good episode. I think I gave that one an A- maybe.
It's awesome.
Oh, it's an A.
An A.
It's an A because not only do you have that, I love the farce. I love the topic of going too far into their personal lives on the radio, because I think that sets sort of a standard for the series that like he needs to kind of watch what he says about the people around him. But we also see the debut of Noel in this episode. Classic Star Trek loving Noel.
Noel,
gotta be one of your favorite characters.
You know,
or do you think they poke too much fun?
Well, that is interesting. We should talk a little bit about Noel because. Well, yes, I do like Noel.
Right.
I think it's interesting because he is like, I guess, the biggest stereotypical geek on the show.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, because Frasier and Niall are geeks in different ways.
But that's the thing. Yeah. They are, and I think there is almost. I don't think they hate him. I know that the big gag.
Yeah,
is that
I don't think so either.
He's always kind of he's like really into Roz and he's always trying to go out there, and she's always kind of annoyed by that, but. He's like a sweet guy, so they all tolerate him, and
he's like a harmless.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy,
and he's really into Star Trek, which is awesome, and there is that kind of connection with Frasier and Star Trek that is established there. But and with Cheers, remember from the
that's true.
So there's always a little bit of points there, but there is stuff later on with him that. As you know,
I know one of your all-time favorite episodes.
One of the best ones is the one with the
Klingon.
What is it?
The bar mitzvah.
The bar mitzvah. Oh man,
that is one of the classics.
That is some great revenge there.
Yeah. It is. So yes, we introduced Noel in this episode.
I like Noel. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard to wrap up the whole season yet because we still have about half of it left. I think there's 11 or so more episodes to go.
I think it's 22. Yeah.
So
kind of a mid-season.
Yeah, there's 24 total, and that was episode 13. So yeah, I think there's 11.
20. Yeah, I think you're right.
So my mid-season thoughts. I mean, so far, a raging success.
Big surprise,
really,
right?
The lowest is a B. Look, this is a show that did falter towards the end. It picked it up back again. The season 11 is great, but like seasons 8, 9, and 10. There's some in there that are not great. They're very run of the mill, paint by numbers sitcom stuff.
It seems to be something like it may be, and you probably know this from watching a lot with sitcoms. It does seem to be about the range, and I know. Well, some people probably debate this, but Seinfeld towards its end might have dabbled in some of that, and Simpsons, arguably the beginning of the end, was around season 8 or so.
Right.
And it's interesting that it seems to be around that time where writers might start to run out of ideas.
Right.
But I think early these seasons, it's so good.
We are establishing characters.
Yes.
We are establishing personalities. We're establishing dynamics between these different characters.
Recurring tropes.
Right. Yeah. Themes of the episodes. Yeah, recurring gags, bits.
But like even now, it seems like I know this obviously because we watched the show, but you can tell there's just so much more they could do, so much more we could learn about these characters.
Right.
We haven't even really scratched the surface.
And like I mentioned with the pilot, these characters all pretty much came out fully formed.
Like you get a good sense of
Roz and Martin specifically.
Uh-huh.
They are who they are and have been since the pilot. Niles changes a little bit, and of course he ebbs and flows with Daphne and their relationship.
He kind of grows. Like the thing about Niles, which I think you probably even noticed, is that he, especially in this first season, like he has to kind of go through that development where he gets a little less,
right? Yeah. Well, and yes, that's for sure. Yeah, that first episode, he's like, with the cloth in the chair at the restaurant, sort of wiping it off.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get that fussy ever again, really.
Thankfully.
That was just a joke, I guess, for the pilot. But yeah, I think it's very interesting because it's rare, I think, in a first season. I mean, talk about a Seinfeld. That first season is like, it's nothing like Seinfeld.
No.
Even Friends, everybody is not formed yet. Early Cheers, people are not quite formed, except for maybe like Sam and Carla. But here, I mean, obviously they didn't have to work as hard on Frasier because he was fairly established.
With Cheers.
But with the rest of the crew, even the side characters. I mean, Bulldog is who he is. Noel is who he is.
Yeah.
So we see that.
Daphne,
and
pretty
it's,
much.
It's rare, I think. Daphne, they tamp down the psychic stuff a bit as it goes on.
Sadly. I kind of like the psychic thing a little bit.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. But you're right, I guess.
But they played pretty hard on it the first half of the season, at least.
I think it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it had its moments. It had its moments for sure.
But I guess that's not. I think it's.
But
more,
I think that's a one note joke.
That is a one note joke. I think
so
it's
glad
more
they sort of developed her a little bit more.
Being English and her background, we know these snippets of interesting things about what her past was like, and her family.
And I love when we actually get to meet, her family later on, all the brothers. But all right, so we'll wrap it up there. We'll do a whole season wrap up, in the next review, as well as the next 11 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, final thoughts?
Honestly...
What a show.
So far, I mean, like I said, I agree with you. There were a couple episodes that maybe weren't great, but there wasn't a bad one.
No, there wasn't a bad one in the bunch. Not in these.
Couple really good ones. Now, I want to talk about more, but I know we got to finish watching the rest.
And you laugh at all of them. I mean, there's laughs in every single one, plural.
There is not a single episode of this show thus far where I haven't laughed. I've at least laughed
a few times.
A little every episode. And some I've laughed. Some, I think one of the ones I was just watching tonight, I think I was like laughing the whole time. So,
sometimes it happens on Frasier.
A lot of times.
So, yeah, all right. Well, thank you for watching. This has been Frasier Friday, Part 2. We'll keep it going.
Part 2.
I don't know if it's going to be every single Friday. We're going to try.
Well, this is what I think.
We'll see.
If it's not every Friday, if you post it on or around a Friday, or we record it on a Friday, you could still say it's technically Frasier Friday.
Well, I'm going to post them all on Fridays. It just may not be every single week. We're going to try.
Hey.
But schedules being what they are, we'll see.
But
basically 22 Frasier Fridays here.
Well, look, Frasier Friday will happen.
Absolutely.
Just basically, you could say posting on Fridays.
Yes.
It won't be a lie.
Posting on Fridays is correct. So thanks for watching and all of that great stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.